So, I'm giving a try, first try ever, to one of my new games, Tim Jim's Throne World. I have high hopes for this. It looks like a less bookkeeping intensive Stellar Conquest type game. All the planets start off hidden. You explore them to see what's there. They start off, because of the concept behind the game. This is actually a once mighty empire owned by the Rue, which aren't in the game, which due to some genetic experiments, etc., their rule has fallen apart. And this is 6 of their servant races: the Baralti, which are combat, the Trill, which are navigators, the Zytel, which are merchants, the Pasha, who I guess are good at space combat, the Venib, who are apparently technologists. They're able to improve their technology better. And the Quateni, who are telepaths, and very good at communication skills. So some of these things, there are 4 technologies: jump technology, communications technology, ground combat technology, and space combat technology, are a key factor in the game. Everybody shares the same. The blue counters are the space combat units. The brown counters are the ground combat units. Everybody shares that same counter mix. You keep track of your economy on these tracks. You keep track of your technology. You're able to keep fleets stacked inside these little holding boxes. What else do we have? So before you can capture a world or even jump to it, as far as I can see, with a real fleet, you have to scan it first, which requires either using your communications ability to place a scan marker or sending a survey team out. There's spaces on the map to hold space, ground, any scans that have been caused, and the information on the system itself. The system itself, I don't want to show one of those, I'll show it later, but it gives values on it which indicate not only the the wealth, not the wealth. Let me show one of these. It shows basically what troops are available there, and the more there is, the closer into the throne world a planet is, the more likely it's to be heavily defended. So there's different kinds of worlds. Well, there's not in play, which you can't play in. But there's fringe worlds which tend to be weaker and are close to the home worlds that the races have fled to. There's the outer worlds, which are a little stronger. The inner worlds much stronger, and finally the throne world, which presumably is going to be much stronger. Again, this is the first time I've played, so I don't really have a feel for how good these things are, how hard they are to take. But apparently it is somewhat difficult. There's information here which indicates the technology of the troops that are going to be there defending it, which is also going to affect either your space or ground combat. Initially, you're going to spread out and try to build your own empire, as far as I see, and eventually you probably want to grab the throne world because it's worth more points. But it's a game to a certain number of planets, I think. I'm not sure how many in 6 players. I don't remember. I haven't really read the rules fully. I read them once through. That's usually what I do. I'm going to read them again before I actually start. But I thought I'd give an overview and a look at it, at what we're going to be doing. Okay, there's a little outreach phase at the beginning of the game, sort of a pre-turn where you're allowed to send your survey teams out. And given that survey teams don't look like they're tremendously valuable, in order to jump them you have to fire off a command post anyway. And if you have a command post and the planet you're looking to get is within your comm range, you can scan it anyway. So I can see where they'd be more valuable later in the game. At this point, it almost seems like a waste to use them this way. But I decided to do that with everyone just because it seems like what you're supposed to do. Plus, you're not, it doesn't specify that you're allowed to scan on the first turn, which obviously I would do if I could. And I'm beginning to wonder whether or not I shuffled everything very well. Got a claim on an empty world and a successful scan, but some of the people, and we'll see that some of the people got the same, but some of the people also got completely wiped out and failed on both their attempts to jump into there, which means there's some space troops or something defending the planet. Such is life, I guess. I don't know. Alright. And we should have a production turn starting right after this. So I'm in the midst of the expansion phase, and I've played 3 of the powers. Let me explain how the expansion phase works. First of all, you get to either jump or scan or transfer units between planets that are friendly. It costs command post actions to do the scans and the jumps. So, the purple player is scanning these planets. They're not actually able to jump to them yet. Actually, they found really ugly stuff there. So that's their side of it. Green also didn't have anywhere they wanted to conquer right away, even though they actually they had some. This is not that impossible to attack. They wanted to hold off until they have more forces, so they scanned a couple of planets, and again probably found not such good things. The outer planets aren't that easy to attack compared to the fringes. And then orange did the same, scanning a couple more planets. And nobody gets to see what these are because nothing's actually entered them. The other ones I set up face up because you had to prove that you could see it. Or not. So the defending troops are there. The second thing that's done in the expansion phase is that you're allowed to play a couple of chips, action chips, and those are collected over here. Now, both purple and green played the artifact chip, which allowed them to increase their technology. Each one made some choices. They get 2 tech die rolls, but they're automatic on that first level, so they got some increases. In both cases, I think they went, green improved its ground combat and its communications so that it can scan further, and it has a particular ground combat it wants to fight, the one I showed you. Purple, whatever the hell they are, increased both their communications and jump range, because they're really hemmed in by their view. Orange, however, did not play an artifact. Instead, they played an economic boom, which increased the value of one of their planets, and they chose to do it on the empty planet. Maybe a good idea, maybe bad. I don't think it works on the home world, and I think you can only have 1 on any given planet. So whatever that did, though, it increased their economic potential. So now they produce 15 instead of the 10 every time they get an economic production. Another option with economic boom is to do production of a sort, local production or homeworld production, and just get more cash. They chose not to do that because increasing their development at this point makes a lot more sense. I'm only halfway through these. But the third thing that you do in each expansion phase is then you dump the chips you played. Now, if you play 1 chip, you can throw an additional chip away, and then everybody who's below 5 chips draws. Or you can dump your entire hand of chips away, or up to your entire hand, I believe, and draw up to 5 your 5 chips again. Nice little mechanism. It was one of the cuter things in the game, I think. what makes it more than just this little conquest and search game. A little further on, we'll be hitting the Empire phase, which gives the research, draws random events, and production on production turns, which are usually every other turn, but there's some little fill-ups in that. And that's really all there is. You have the ability to intercept other people's movement that's within range of your command posts if they're active, and if you have the proper chips, you can intercept and you can jam. Jamming prevents them from making the jump. Intercept allows you to bring your troops against them. Other than that, your goal is to conquer the correct number of planets. And in this game, I believe it's 12. When somebody hits 12, they win. Well, not exactly. Everybody's got one turn without an Empire phase, just an expansion phase, to stop them from winning. And you stop them from winning either by playing, either by exceeding their total number of planets or by knocking them below the victory conditions required. You could set it up so somebody else exceeds during your turn, and that creates some little weirdnesses. Everybody gets a turn to stop that stuff. Combat is handled kind of by a buckets of dice type situation. Each unit gets a certain number of dice to throw. Normally it's 1. Each unit takes hits, normally 1, but there are some specials. Heavy infantry, for example, takes more hits. Command bunkers take more hits. Shields, they prevent a hit in addition to the hit that they can take. And the person who's taking the hits more or less chooses the hits they take, but they must take all the hits possible. So they can't like say, oh yeah, my command bunker takes 2 of the hits, so it's not destroyed. If you have things that can take those 2 hits, well, the command bunker is a special situation. It can actually shield you in that way. Anyway, tech level affects these. You get pluses to the die rolls if you're higher tech. And some of the racial special abilities give you increases as well. So for example, the Baralti, their heavy infantry are special on attacks, which is just kind of cool. Every race has its own special ability. There's not a lot more to this game. It's actually a pretty damn simple game. I'm gonna call this the end for the intro, and then I'll try to follow what's happening briefly, probably once a turn or something, just show the expanded thing. It's not going to be too exciting, I don't think. I don't think this is a game that videos well.